Hi, welcome to podcast number 4 on Change Your Words, Change Your Life. And I'm so happy you're here today and joining me with another of what I consider to be very important life advice that took me some time to learn and to actually focus on so I could bring it to others as my main profession. So I'm Naya Shanti, and I'm so happy to be here with you today as we talk about changing our words to change our life. Now, some of you might be thinking it's not that simple, but I can guarantee you that our words define most of what we are creating around us. And therefore, when we aren't sure of the impact of our words, or we just say things that we habitually say, we are creating patterns that aren't serving our best interest. So, the best way to start to notice what we say more often is to notice those things we say frequently. For instance, some people may apologize frequently instead of saying something else. Someone else might say okay frequently. What do you say frequently? For me lately, it's been I don't know, but that's a good one to have too. So, what are your frequent go to phrases? And when you say them, what are other ways to say them? Let's say you're a frequent apologizer. You don't have to say, I'm sorry. You can start off with, I apologize. My intention was. You could say something like, oh, I got overwhelmed. Let me explain. Or whatever you need to say, but say it in a different way. Now, this is the first way to eliminate those things we don't want to say. We shift them to say them from a different perspective, just a little bit broader, so that we can slowly start to integrate another way of approaching. When we, let's say, apologize in a different way, our brain starts to catch on to this isn't the same pattern. This isn't the same road we are going down. And now we actually are using our mind and our brain to think of the next best thing to say. We're using our whole selves instead of this automated pattern. So the automated patterns will trip us up most often because from childhood we've heard sayings or things that get stuck in our head, and we also have become people that are repetitive and redundant at times. So before speaking at any point, just taking a moment to breathe and just noticing that you feel in your body and thinking through what's going to come out of your mouth before it comes out is the best way to kind of not automate a pattern that you don't want to see come into fruition. Now, one thing that you can do is to just start to regulate yourself by thinking everything is a new experience. Don't come into the experience with words or a story. Let's say you're going to a class. Some people come with their story. I'm here because I'm injured. I'm here because I need blank. What if you were just there? What if you didn't have to have a story or a reason? And the same thing is true for anything else you do. I have to do this because of blank. Now we get into the have tos and the shoulds there. What if we didn't say we had to do the things that we needed to do, but rather we wanted to do them for a keen reason that we're particularly interested in? If it's the grocery store, what are you the most interested in solving a problem for? And go from there. Don't say it's a should or a have to, because those words trap us into a situation where our brain says, this is where I can partially turn off because it's a have to, it's a should, it's not me, right? So we're not bringing ourselves to those shoulds. We're thinking, oh, I should and I have to, and therefore I'm going to show up, but is all of me going to be there? No, not unless we say, I want to, this is important to me. Those are the words that mean something. And when we start saying those words for everything we do in a way that's meaningful because we start to appreciate it on a different level, or we're changing those things we do, we start to align. And that alignment gives us power in our body and posture, as well as in how we're aligning ourselves up emotionally and mentally to be prepared for every situation that comes next. Now, many of us get drained from one situation to the next, and this is part of the problem. If we are not aligned with our words, the situation becomes taxing and draining. We are improvising, And most of us are improvising in conversations, but what it really comes down to is deferring to these old patterns in our brain of how to respond. When someone tells you something that's important to them, let's say someone's vulnerable or they're opening up about something, the best possible thing in this situation and many others is to begin to question. Get curious all of the time and start with questions. When someone says something they're interested in, ask them a question about it. What is it about this thing that interests you? Don't go to an automatic, oh, that's cool. That just ends the conversation. And there's so many conversation enders. That's good. Good for you. What does that mean? I mean, ask me a question if you really want to get to know what I'm saying, right? We want other people to do the same for us. It would be nice if people were engaged with us in that way, where as we're speaking, they're nodding, listening, pausing, and deepening their understanding by asking us questions. So we want to ask ourselves questions too. Why are we doing this next thing we're doing? What is the thing that's going to excite us the most? And when we start asking ourselves questions about our oncoming experiences and the things that we're doing, we are building a bridge and an avenue to an experience that becomes authentic and ours, instead of on the surface and somewhat there, which isn't really how we want to belong in this world. So asking questions is the best possible way to get curious about what's coming next. What is it that I'm going to enjoy about this thing that's coming next? If there's nothing I can find that I'm going to enjoy beforehand, what might I be surprised by? Or what could I get interested in that I haven't been addressing yet? And little by little, this curiosity leads to more curiosity, which feels good because when you're curious, you can't be fearful. And you can't be judgmental. So we want to stay in this place where we're consistently curious with ourselves, asking questions to ourselves and other people, because then we're not criticizing, we're not fearful, we don't have judgment. We are just interested in life the way it is. And we want to know more. And we want to learn more. And we want to meet people with their excitement and enjoy it with them. We don't want to dampen it by responding in a way that's just typical or comfortable. Now, our words are something that fall into the category of comfort. And it's very comfortable to say what we know. It might be uncomfortable for a moment to go into a pattern of unknown, of even beginning to ask these questions. So just taking a moment to be uncomfortable with yourself and find comfort there, which I know sounds challenging, but we do it in every lesson. We find something impossible, and then we learn how to make it easier and possible. And by doing this, by being uncomfortable for a moment, we start to get comfortable with discomfort. And I cannot tell you the amount of power that comes from being uncomfortable in a situation and finding comfort in that discomfort. When we can find comfort in our discomfort, we are truly authentically growing. And we are really showing up authentically as who we are. We want to be so careful with the things that we say and the things that we put out into the world. And I often, things I don't want to say to people, I put into my music, because that is a place where I feel like it's safe. But I would never in a million years make another person feel unsafe by using negative language to either define them or confine their situation or limit it. When our words are limiting, that's also something else we need to look at. Where can we be more expansive with what we're saying? Where can we say something that allows for more permission for the other person to come back with more interest on their level? What are the best questions we could ask? And here's another way that we can get really good with language, and this becomes a skill, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Now, whether you have children or don't, this is an amazing skill, but if you have kids, this is great too. Planting seeds. Someone may not be ready to hear fully what you have to say. They may not be able to take it all in. And if you get that sense, plant a seed for later. Say something like that will get in their head, that they'll have to ponder over, that they might be a little bit uncomfortable with, so therefore they have to take it with them and just kind of mess with it a little bit, but something that opens them up. It may or may not work, but in a lot of cases, I've had people plant seeds with me, and 5 years later, I'm getting those seeds and they're blossoming. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know you were doing that at the time. So when we get very careful and good with our language, we can even plant seeds for people to have future experiences that bring them more joy. We want our words to envelop others, to help them feel comfortable in their body, to help them feel good about what they're doing, because that's what we want for us. And it's truly on a deep level, probably what we really want. We just don't always know the right words to say. So the more we pause and come up with a question, the more we develop our skill set of vocabulary that will benefit ourselves and other people in a way that is just transformational. I mean, thinking about all of the habitual and negative things you could say leads you to limited options and just about nothing. But the minute you start to expand what you know, expand what you say, expand your ability to ask questions about what you previously didn't know, and just get so comfortable in not knowing, everything starts to work out. There is this ability for life to flow when your language is on point. Because it's not just your language, it's your mindset, it's your self-image, the way you're reflecting back from your heart, from your body. It's everything. So thinking about how broad that is, it all begins with a word. Sometimes silence is the best answer. Sometimes silence needs some time before it can develop into a beautifully crafted, heartfelt sentence. So sometimes we can choose silence because it's better than saying things we don't want to say. And if we can commit to only saying what we truly want to say without being impulsive, by pausing, carefully crafting our words, and holding on when we don't know, even if silence is uncomfortable, just sitting it. So we don't express blatantly things that we don't want to happen, things that we don't want to say to other people. Knowing every word matters. We will change our lives and the lives of everyone around us. So I just want to thank you for joining me for this fourth podcast. This one's a little bit shorter, but straight to the point, and I will do more on words soon. I have a book coming out called Love Thy Truth, and within that book is 2 chapters breaking down the most common things in language that people say and what they actually mean by it, so that when we're feeling like, oh my God, where did this come from? We can actually get to the questions that we need to ask that person to show them and reveal to them their pattern without making them uncomfortable. So there are ways that we can start to help other people level up too, by really understanding what someone says isn't always what they mean. And when you start to change your words, you'll notice that when people aren't in line with what they say, you'll notice. And the best way to call them out is to notice the story they're playing in their head and to unravel that story for them and with them. So I'll have more from those 2 chapters from my book for another podcast soon. In the meantime, notice what the people are saying around you and don't take it all personally. Notice that they might not be in alignment with our words. Look at their body and their posture, and then choose to interpret it in a way that's helpful for both you and them without internalizing anything negative. Because people say all kinds of things, right? Words are something that we don't carefully craft. That's why I'm asking you to do the groundwork, because we all need to be responsible for our words. And as we are, we'll notice how we can help others more and more, take things less personally, and really be there for ourselves and everyone else, showing up with first our language and everything else that comes with that. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for joining me. This is Naya Shanti. Bye.